I got home early from a damn cattle auction and found Karen standing at my fence screaming bloody murder at my goats like they owed her rent. And when I told her to back off, she pulled out her phone and screamed, "He's threatening me. He's armed." With what, Karen? A fucking feed bucket. Yeah, welcome back to Texas Hill Country. Folks, this time, it ain't about property lines or fences. This one's about pride, animals, and the goddamn soul of the land. So tell me this. What would you do if some HOA nutcase tried to gaslight your livestock? Drop your wildest HOA story down in the comments. Let's get into it. I'd been gone exactly 74 hours. Not that I was counting, but when you live out here in Texas Hill Country long enough, you develop a sense, a feel. You know when something ain't right on your land. And let me tell you, the second I turned off the highway and hit the old gravel stretch toward my property, I knew something was off. The birds were quiet. The wind had a different kind of bite. And that gut-deep itch. The one you get before a bar fight breaks out or a twister drops. It was clawing at me from the inside. I'd just come back from a solo trip down near Big Bend. Hunting hogs, clearing my head, no cell service, no HOA bullshit. Just me, the sand, and the sound of my own boots. I came back in my old Ford F-350 rusted in the right places, red dirt caked into its bones. She's not pretty, but she roars like a lion and hauls like a mule. Name's Darla, by the way, like my ex. Stubborn and loud, but loyal when it counts. Anyway, I round the bend past Miller's Creek, and I see it dust, hoof prints, and a damn folding chair sitting right up against my livestock fence like someone was setting up for a damn rodeo. And then I hear it, screaming, high-pitched, nasal, and sharp enough to slice through barbed wire. Back, you demon cows! It took me a second to process it, but then I saw her. Karen! Karen! In full pastel glory, visor strapped down like she was invading Normandy. Standing outside my fence with a megaphone in one hand and a bright yellow plastic rake in the other. Behind her, she'd duct-taped a Bluetooth speaker to a portable ladder, blaring what sounded like wolf howls mixed with Eurotrash techno beats. You couldn't make this shit up. And she was yelling at my livestock. My goats, bless their simple souls, were huddled near the fence looking confused as hell. Beans, the leader of the idiot pack, just stared at her like he was trying to process if she was edible. My rooster, Elvis, flapped up onto a fence post, clucked once like, "What the fuck?" and then flew off to the barn. I rolled down the window and shouted, "Karen, what in sweet fried hell are you doing?" She spun around, startled. The megaphone dropped to her side. She was dressed like she just stepped out of a Stepford Wives convention. That visor was starch stiff. Her little HOA badge sparkled like she'd polished it with baby tears. "You said you'd be gone till Monday," she screeched, like my personal schedule was part of her fucking jurisdiction. I shut off Darla's engine and stepped out, boots hitting the gravel with purpose. You ever hear the sound of someone walking angry? That was me. That was every step I took toward her. "This your idea of community outreach," I barked. "Harassing farm animals with rave music and a megaphone." She lifted her chin, all 5'2" of righteous HOA fury. These animals are a clear disturbance to the neighborhood. They scream at all hours. They smell like death. And this one, she pointed at Beans, who had now started chewing on the leg of the folding chair, has been staring at my daughter's bedroom window for days. It's predatory and it's against HOA bylaws. I stopped, blinked once, and actually laughed. "Karen, I don't give a goat's ass what your bylaws say. My land ain't in your HOA. Never was. Never will be. These goats were here before your plastic-ass McMansions sprouted up like mold on old brisket." She stepped forward like she was about to say something real smart. Instead, she chucked a half-full bottle of cucumber spa water at Beans. It bounced off his head. Beans didn't even flinch. He just let out a low Mia, like he was disappointed in her life choices. You just assaulted my goat, Karen. Her eyes went wide. She looked like she'd just realized maybe, just maybe, she'd pushed the crazy a hair too far. And that's when she reached for her phone. 911, yes. I'm being threatened. The man he's charging me with a weapon. I feel unsafe. Yes, livestock are present. I held up both hands. One had my truck keys. The other had a goddamn burrito I'd picked up 30 miles back. Still warm. Still unbitten. Lady? I said. Unless you count beans and beef in a tortilla as a deadly weapon, I suggest you hang the hell up before the operator starts laughing at you. But she didn't hang up. She kept going, spewing whatever HOA nonsense she could conjure through the panic. I took a step forward, calm, measured. Let my boots talk louder than my mouth. Let me tell you something. Karen, my granddaddy raised goats on this land. Before electricity, before roads, before your cookie-cutter community of wine moms and lawn audits showed up. This land meant something, and you screaming at my stock like you're performing a one-woman exorcism ain't gonna fly. Then I pointed at the little paper she'd zip-tied to my fence post, a laminated sheet with HOA letterhead. Notice of livestock violation? It said, underlined 3 times in red ink. I ripped it down, tore it in half, and tossed it in her folding chair. And right then, because of course I heard the sound of sirens. Faint at first, then closer. The kind that make your stomach twist not because you're guilty, but because you know someone's about to take Karen seriously for 5 goddamn minutes. The goats backed up like they'd heard this song before. Elvis reappeared on the barn roof. Even Daisy, my oldest cow, stopped chewing her cud to watch. Karen smiled. That tight, smug HOA smile. You're gonna regret threatening me, she whispered. The sheriff knows who I am. I grinned back. Yeah, well, he knows who I am too. Sweetheart. And he likes my jerky better than yours. And when those red and blue lights flashed over my pasture, I knew one thing for certain. This wasn't about animals. It wasn't about bylaws. It was about territory. And Karen had just declared war on mine. The cops showed up fast. 2 cruisers. Lights cutting through the dust like fire ants through a picnic table. Out stepped Deputy Morales and that rookie kid, Dunley, who still looked like he couldn't grow a full beard if his life depended on it. Morales knew me. He'd come out once last year when a meth head crashed a 4-wheeler into my hay shed. Good guy. Ate venison jerky straight from my pocket without blinking. He took one look at Karen, still waving her HOA badge like it meant something outside her front porch, and sighed loud enough to rustle the dust on the hood of my truck. Clint, he said, I'm just here to keep the peace. I nodded, arms crossed. Ain't me you gotta watch. Morales. Karen stepped in between us like a toddler trying to referee a bar brawl. This man has aggressive animals on an unsecured property. He allowed one of his goats to glare at me, and his rooster. She paused for dramatic effect. Lunged. I blinked. Elvis flapped once and took a shit. Karen, if that's a felony, half the chickens in Texas are doing hard time. Morales turned to the rookie. Dunley, go check the fence line. Dunley stepped off, notebook in hand, as if he was about to uncover a livestock-based conspiracy. Karen wasn't done. She handed Morales a thick envelope. HOA letterhead, laminated documents, color-coded charts, a goddamn pie graph. These are formal complaints. Clint. From Willow Bend Circle, Cedar Grove Court, and, oh yes, Unit 4B. Multiple witnesses. Noise disturbances, odors, aggressive animals, and what we're calling community psychological damage. I took the folder and flipped it open. Inside were printed screenshots from my Facebook page. One post was me, holding a goat wearing sunglasses. Caption, he's ready to take on the HOA. Another had a picture of my rooster standing on a lawn gnome from Karen's front yard. Caption, Elvis sends his regards. These are memes. Karen. They're threatening, she snapped. They're funny, I countered. Morales cleared his throat. Clint, for legal purposes, she's filed a civil nuisance claim. Might want to talk to a lawyer. I am the lawyer, I growled. Well, I was once, briefly. Bar exam don't count if you pass it drunk. Right, Dunley returned. Fence is secure. Animals look fine. One of the goats chewed my clipboard, though that's Beans. I said he's a lawyer, too. Karen was fuming now. Cheeks blotchy red like her blood pressure just realized she wasn't in charge out here. If this man doesn't remove his animals or build a 6-foot soundproof barrier, I will have no choice but to escalate this to county code enforcement. Lady, I said, if you think the county gives a single dry shit about my goats farting on a Tuesday, then I got a ski lodge in Lubbock to sell you. She turned and marched off, but not before tossing one last laminated sheet over her shoulder. I caught it midair. Notice of imminent community vote to enforce livestock removal? Jesus Christ, a vote. This ain't a bake sale. Karen. That night, I sat on my porch with a bottle of Kentucky bourbon and watched the sun bleed out over the hill country. The land was quiet again, but I wasn't. See, this ranch. It ain't just dirt and fences. My daddy laid these posts. My granddaddy built that barn from the scraps of an old cotton gin. The fence line. It's marked with old Confederate era stakes. Damn near a historic landmark. The goats, hell, they're practically family. Beans once headbutted a rattler off the back porch. Saved my damn leg. Karen doesn't get that. To her, this place is a blemish. A dirty, wild stain on her sterile HOA utopia. She wants it quiet, clipped, cul-de-sac perfect. But I ain't a lawn. I don't get trimmed to regulation. The next day, I get a letter. Registered mail, postmarked from the Willow Creek HOA board. Subject formal summons for livestock endangerment, noise violations, and willful disrespect of HOA authority. Well, kiss my boots. There was a date, a time, and a meeting scheduled at the Willow Creek Community Hall. A little pastel-colored hellhole built where an old trading post used to sit, one where Texas Rangers once bought bullets and whiskey before riding west. Now it's where soccer moms go to complain about lawn height. I pinned the letter to my fridge, right next to Bean's picture with a cowboy hat. This wasn't just HOA nonsense anymore. This was a siege, and I don't retreat. I showed up in full Clint Barrow fashion denim shirt buttoned low, leather boots still muddy from feeding the goats, and a belt buckle big enough to blind someone in poor lighting. Pulled Darla up to the Willow Creek Community Hall, right next to a line of pastel SUVs and white Subarus with bumper stickers like "Peace starts with me and Namaste." Y'all, yeah, my peace starts with me. Until I show up with a chicken that crows before 9 a.m. I walked through the glass doors and the smell hit me first, lemon-scented tyranny and cold cheese cubes. The room was set up like some kind of bureaucratic ambush. Folding chairs in neat rows, a podium dead center, and a cheap slideshow projector humming like it had PTSD. At the front, Karen, wearing a salmon-colored blazer, pearls, and a power-hungry expression like she was about to auction off Jesus himself. Behind her, a slide projected onto the wall Community Wellness and Safety Initiative proposal. 17B, Livestock Elimination Vote. I took a chair in the back. Didn't say a word. Just stared. To my left sat a man I'd never seen before, holding a tiny dog in a vest labeled Emotional Support Animal. Certified. To my right, a woman with aggressively blonde bangs gave me a look like I'd farted in her connoisseur. Karen stepped up to the mic. Ladies and gentlemen of Willow Creek, she purred. Thank you for joining us tonight for this important vote. Our community is under silent siege by unauthorized livestock. The slideshow clicked an image of Beans zoomed in so far, it looked like a mugshot. This goat, she hissed, was seen chewing on a child's soccer ball. Another resident reported auditory trauma due to excessive bleeding. One neighbor has described waking up with panic attacks, and the rooster slide changes. Elvis, in full strut mode, has been seen climbing fences. Climbing... Folks, birds don't climb unless they're aggressive. A woman in the front row gasped, "That's not natural." Karen gestured dramatically, like she was hosting a damn TED Talk on poultry crime. Therefore, we propose a full vote to have Mr. Barrow's livestock removed, or his land condemned as a nuisance to residential health. I raised a hand. Yeah, I got a question. Y'all ever been to Texas before? Or did you just land here from some gluten-free moon base? Karen ignored me. Please, Clint, we'll give you 2 minutes for your rebuttal. I stood, slowly, cracked my back like a shotgun shell, walked to the front, boots thudding against the laminate tile like I was walking to the gallows, took the mic. First off, I didn't realize living like a human being was now a criminal offense. Second, this ain't a goddamn zoo, it's a ranch. My ranch. Been in my family since before your entire subdivision existed. Your HOA wasn't even a thought when my granddaddy laid down the fence line y'all are so damn mad about. Murmurs. A man in a salmon polo whispered something to his wife. She nodded like they were about to call the sheriff on my belt buckle. My animals are legal. My land's outside your HOA jurisdiction. You don't get to tell me how loud a goat should be. And if Elvis wants to strut hell, let the man strut. Karen stepped forward. Mr. Barrow, emotional speeches won't change the fact that you are a public nuisance. This vote is legal. You want to talk legal, I snapped. Then let's talk about this. I pulled out a manila folder. County property lines, livestock permits, noise ordinance charts. You think I came in here unarmed? I've got receipts thicker than your hair dye. Slide click. Suddenly the screen behind her changed. Beans, wearing the HOA badge in his teeth. My meme. This, she hissed, is cyber harassment? No, Karen, that is comedy. The room laughed. First nervously, then louder. Karen panicked. Fine. Let's vote. Hands up if you support the livestock removal. A few hands shot up, mostly HOA diehards. Now hands up if you don't think goats are a threat to national security. Half the room raised their hands, hesitant but fed up. Karen froze. You don't understand. These animals will ruin everything. The property values, the aesthetic, the quiet. Lady, I said, leaning into the mic. You don't want quiet. You want control. Silence. She looked like someone just unplugged her battery. The motion fails, someone said from the board table. Karen stormed out, her tiny heels clacking like angry castanets. Behind her, the slideshow glitched Beans again, smiling like a damn outlaw. But I wasn't smiling. Not yet. Because as I walked out the door, Dunley, the rookie deputy, caught me in the parking lot. Mr. Barrow? He muttered. You might want to check your property. Why someone filed a noise complaint from your address 20 minutes ago about animal distress? I felt a chill crawl up my spine. While I was in here, I asked. He nodded. Karen, I asked. He shrugged. Caller ID was blocked. But there's more. Dispatch said they heard gunshots. I didn't wait to hear more. I jumped in Darla and tore off like hell was licking at my tires. Because my ranch wasn't just under attack anymore. It was open war. The sun was low when I gunned Darla down the county road. Dust coughing up behind me like the earth itself was pissed off. The words gunshots and distress call spun through my head like a damn slot machine stuck on hell. No, my ranch don't call for help. That's not how it works out here. You help yourself, or you bleed in the dirt. That's the rule. I turned down the gravel path, tires screeching past the private property. Trespassers will be shot sign I carved myself back in 2013 after a tourist tried to feed Beans a granola bar. But tonight, that sign felt more like a wish than a warning. The first thing I noticed, the gate was wide open. Not swung, not unlocked, but clean off the hinges, as if someone had rammed it with a goddamn truck. I slammed Darla into park and jumped out, hand instinctively going to the hunting knife tucked behind my back. I had a shotgun in the house, but this was close range, gut check kind of night. The barn door creaked in the wind, and the screaming not human hit me square in the chest. It was Elvis, my rooster. Screaming like a banshee in heat, I ran toward the animal pen, boots stomping through the dry grass and goat shit, adrenaline in my ears like a war drum. And there she was, Karen, standing on my land, right by the fence line, holding a bullhorn, and pointing it directly at Beans. Step back. Violent animal. This is an HOA-approved warning. Step back or face consequences. I blinked. She was yelling at a goat. Beans just stared at her like she owed him rent. My heart was still pounding, but something darker crept in rage. Karen, I barked. What in the flying fuck are you doing? She spun like a possum in headlights. Her bullhorn slipped from her hands and thudded into the dirt. Clint, you're supposed to be at the community center. We had an agreement. The only agreement we ever had was unspoken you stay off my damn land, and I don't turn my cows loose in your tulip garden. She straightened up, still in that stupid salmon blazer, pearls glinting like tiny lies around her neck. I received an anonymous tip that your livestock were exhibiting pre-aggressive behavior. I came to inspect. It's an HOA matter. You're not the damn livestock police, I shouted. This isn't your subdivision. This is my land. These are my animals. You got no more business here than a vegan at a barbecue. Just then, I saw it. Elvis was limping. Blood on his claw. His left wing dragged just a little behind him like it wasn't responding right. I knelt next to him, voice low now. Easy, buddy. Who did this to you? And that's when I saw the rocks. Fist-sized stones, scattered just inside the fence line. Freshly disturbed dirt. One had a smear of blood. I turned slowly toward Karen, eyes burning. Did you throw rocks at my rooster? He lunged at me. She squeaked. He's got one wing and a limp. Karen, what was he going to do? Glare you to death. She reached into her purse. No, not for a gun. Worse, a stack of pamphlets. HOA Standard 4C. Any domesticated livestock that displays signs of territorial aggression can be deemed shut the hell up. I didn't shout this time. I just said it. Quiet, cold, and that's what made her freeze. I got calls, I said police calls, about gunshots, screaming, and here you are, screaming into a megaphone like a damn lunatic and throwing rocks at chickens. I didn't save it. I stepped forward. This ain't just harassment anymore, this is cruelty. To animals, to property, and to me. And that's when she reached for her phone. Like clockwork. 911. Yes, I'm being threatened. He's unstable. He has a weapon. I laughed. I actually laughed. Pulled out my own phone and hit record. Yeah, hi, this is Clint Barrow. I'm currently being trespassed on by a known HOA offender with a history of calling fake police reports. And I got her on video this time. Karen's face went white like a possum caught humping a lawn chair. She lowered the phone. You can't prove you're standing under one of 6 new trail cams I installed last week? Sweetheart, I got more angles on you than a Netflix documentary. 15 minutes later, Deputy Morales rolled up again. He stepped out slower this time, like he knew what mess he was stepping into. "What now?" he sighed. I pointed at Elvis, still breathing heavy in the coop. "Animal cruelty, trespassing, noise disturbance, and attempted use of megaphone-based psychological warfare." Morales squinted at Karen. "Ma'am, were you yelling at a goat?" Karen folded her arms. "Your badge is upside down. It wasn't—" Morales turned to me. "I'll take a statement. Again. But Clint, off the record, I think she's escalating." "Escalating?" I said. "Shit. Morales. She just launched the Battle of Bighorn Chickens. What's next?" "Poison feed goats in court." Karen hissed. "You think you're clever, but hey, wake. This won't end with goats." And for once, I believed her. Because as the deputy led her back to her car, I noticed something glinting near my water trough. I walked over. It was a small camera. One of those spy cams, the kind you can hide in a flower pot. I picked it up and turned it over. Recording light still blinking. She'd been filming me. Filming my ranch. Probably for months. And as I stood there, holding that tiny piece of surveillance hell, the wind picked up hard and fast, blowing over one of my warning signs near the gate, and behind it a fresh wooden stake, driven into the ground, with a little HOA flag on top. She'd marked my land, again. That night. I didn't drink. Didn't sit on the porch. I went inside, I locked the doors, I loaded the shotgun, and I sat in the dark, because Karen wasn't just annoying anymore. Karen was organizing, and war was coming. 3 days passed, and the air on my land felt different. You know when a storm's coming, but the sky's clear? That tightness in the air, like even the wind's holding its breath, that's what it felt like. Except this time, the storm wasn't in the clouds, it was inside me. I'd spent those 72 hours watching every goddamn frame of security footage. I had all 6 new trail cams. Porch cam, barn cam, coop cam, hell. I even checked the fridge cam I accidentally installed last year during a beer-fueled DIY spree. And guess what Karen fucked up? At 2:13 a.m., the night before her goat harassment meltdown, she walked onto my land wearing all black. Hoodie, gloves, the works. Except she's not smart, not Karen. Because she wore her goddamn HOA lanyard, glowing under the infrared like a guilty halo. She bent down by the feed bins, pulled out a little bag, sprinkled something into the water bucket. Poison, sedative, I don't know yet. But Beans didn't eat for 24 hours after that. And Elvis couldn't crow right. It hit me then this wasn't just power games. Karen was trying to kill my animals. I stared at the screen for a long time. Fists clenched, stomach sour. I've seen IEDs go off. I've seen men cry for their mothers in a language they didn't even speak. But I'd never, not once, felt this kind of betrayal on my own soil. This land raised me, fed me, buried my dog, my dad, and my first goddamn pocket knife. And this HOA harpy thinks she can salt it like she's Caesar crossing into Gaul. No fucking way. Next day, I loaded the footage onto 3 flash drives, backed it up to the cloud, sent 1 copy to the sheriff's office, and printed stills from the frames. All time-stamped, all watermarked. I dressed like I was going to a damn funeral denim jacket. Press shirt, belt buckle polished like chrome. Not to mourn, but to bury someone else's reputation. Then I drove to the Willow Creek Emergency HOA board meeting, which had been called because, quote, the community is in moral distress over recent events. Translation. Karen's grip was slipping, and she knew it. I stepped into the hall, flash drive in my pocket, a calm fury in my boots. This time, no pleasantries. Karen saw me, and her face twitched, not fear, not guilt, but panic wrapped in fake charm. "Oh, look," she chirped. "The livestock lord returns." I didn't take the bait. Karen, I said, voice even. Tonight's going to be your last night in charge. She scoffed. Is that a threat, no? I said, walking to the projector. It's a goddamn presentation. Slide 1 night cam footage of her walking onto my land. Slide 2 close-up of the HOA badge glowing. Slide 3 her dumping contents into the trough. Slide 4 beans refusing to eat. Then I played the audio. One of the trail cams caught her muttering, "Let's see how they like you when your animals drop dead." The room went dead quiet. An older man in the front whispered, "What the hell?" Karen stood there, stunned. Then, "That's fake," she barked. "That's AI-generated bullshit." I didn't flinch. "Then sue me," I said. "But good luck. Because the sheriff already has the original footage and a toxicology report's coming for that water sample." The crowd turned. All those smiles she'd collected over years of manipulation gone. One woman stepped forward, voice shaking. "You told us his goats had rabies. That he was a danger to kids." Karen tried to speak, but someone else shouted, "You said he brandished a gun at a town hall. You called 911 on him for holding a truck key." Karen's face crumbled. For the first time, that mask cracked so wide you could see the raw cruelty underneath. And still, she tried. "You're all just falling for Clint's country boy act. He's got you eating out of his calloused little." I held up one hand. "You done." She hissed something under her breath. But she was done. Someone, I think it was Marla. The bakery owner stood and said what we were all thinking. "Karen, we're taking a vote." She didn't even stay to hear the result. Just grabbed her stupid salmon briefcase and bolted, bumping into a trash can on the way out. The board voted 9-1. Karen Morgan was officially removed from Willow Creek HOA leadership. The lone No Kyle, her nephew, who left 5 minutes later looking like someone just repoed his crypto wallet. I drove home slow that night, let the wind roll through Darla's cracked window. Smelled like burnt cedar and a little redemption. When I pulled up to the ranch, Elvis crowed weakly, but he crowed. Beans was munching hay with that same smug-ass grin. And I stood there, breathing deep, like the whole damn mountain finally exhaled with me. But just as I turned to go inside, I noticed something on the fence post. A little card, tucked under the wire, sealed in red wax. I opened it. It read, "You may have won the battle. Cowboy." But the war isn't over. HOA handwritten beneath Justice Committee. And there, scrawled in lipstick, not ink, was one word. Next. 2 days after I found that lipstick-smeared card on my fence, I was done playing defense. It was time to burn down their goddamn playbook. I drove straight to the county clerk's office in Burnett, walked in with a file thick enough to kill a hog, dropped it on the counter like a bar fight challenge and said, "I want to file formal charges, harassment, trespassing, animal endangerment, and impersonation of a public authority." And I got video. The girl at the desk blinked twice, nodded once, and typed like her nails were on fire. By sundown, the sheriff, county investigator, and local DA were sitting in my living room, watching Karen's greatest hits reel in full HD her night visit. The poison at the trough, the 911 lies, the HOA email prints I'd gotten from a whistleblower board member, even the Justice Committee note she'd sent. She called herself a Justice Committee. "Yeah, Ma." "Jesus," the DA muttered. These HOA types think they're Homeland Security. That same week, Karen got formally indicted. 3 felony charges, 5 misdemeanors. And you know what? Turns out she wasn't acting alone. Not even close. Kyle, her nephew, had been cutting deals behind HOA funds, laundering community beautification budgets into a shell account tied to his crypto wallet. 2 other board members resigned the next day. One skipped town, but Karen went out swinging. She showed up at her hearing in a pastel blazer, red lipstick like a battle flag, and tried to give a 3-minute speech about preserving community values in the face of rural chaos. The judge cut her off by minute 2. "Miss Morgan, this isn't a TED Talk. This is criminal court." And when the trial began, I was the first witness. I stood there in my cleanest denim, Stetson in my hand, eyes level, told the whole damn story from Elvis the Rooster to the midnight intrusions. "And why?" the defense lawyer asked. "Did you never agree to the HOA?" I looked straight at the jury. Because where I come from, freedom ain't a thing you lease month to month. The courtroom went still. Even the bailiff nodded. Karen wouldn't look at me. Not once. By the end of the trial, she was found guilty on all felony counts. The judge gave her 6 years with eligibility for parole after 2, plus a ban from participating in any HOA leadership in the state of Texas. And when they cuffed her, she didn't cry. She didn't yell. She looked at me and said one word, "You win." And for the first time in months, I actually felt it. Not gloat, not revenge, just stillness. The aftermath. Well, Kyle flipped and gave the feds everything to avoid more jail time. HOA got dissolved. New group formed, this time elected by real members. The Willow Creek sign got torn down. A new one went up Hill Country Neighbors Coalition. No HOA. Just respect. Painted by hand. Hung by me and a 74-year-old veteran named Bobby who brought beer and stories about punching an HOA rep back in '87. The ranch, it's fine now. Elvis Crow's proud again. Beans got her weight back. I put up a new fence, not steel, not chain link. Cedar, hand cut, etched into one plank, not for sale, not for control. C.B. Some days I get folks driving by just to shake my hand. Said my video helped them fight their own HOA battles. Some of them cried. One dude gave me a smoked brisket wrapped in foil like a gift from God. Me, I sit on the porch. Cup of black coffee. Shotgun next to the chair, not loaded, but looking damn serious. Every now and then, I see a shiny SUV slow down by the gate. Sometimes it stops. Sometimes it moves on. But they know now. This ain't a suburb. This ain't a planned community. This is Texas Hill Country, and here we don't back down. We stand the fuck up. So, yeah, Karen's HOA empire went down in flames. The judge threw the book at her. The HOA board got smoked like last year's brisket. And me, I still wake up every morning to Elvis crowing, beans munchin', and the sunrise hitting that cedar fence I built with my own 2 hands. Freedom don't come easy out here. But hell, it's worth fighting for. If you're dealing with your own HOA nightmare, don't back down. Don't get bitter. Get smarter. Get louder. Get proof. And if all else fails, make damn sure the whole internet hears about it. This has been another story from the HOA Karen Files. Like and subscribe, and drop your wildest neighbor horror below. We got your back. Till next time, stay sharp, stay free, and keep your damn gate locked.